Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello,
All
everyone.
right. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We are super excited to have you all. So excited to see you, Chaitali. So excited to see you, Pradeep. Hello to our audience. I know we've been waiting for it for a long time. We've got questions from so many of you. Thank you so much for that. I'm Richa. I'm one of the co-founders of Yodos. So I have a lot of HR professionals and leaders in the audience, and I know each one of you know that wellness program form an integral part of company's culture. They really shape the well-being of the organization. Well, it's easy to see, and I know for a fact, working with 500 plus organizations, that most leaders intend to make it work. However, there are hidden complexities which play a far greater role in making it a success. Research says only 23% of the wellness programs actually yield to success. Wellness is interpreted, expected by different people differently, right? Be it hybrid workforce, remote workforce versus in office, men versus women, people across different age groups, and many more, right? There are so many cuts, and the way they interpret and expect stuff from wellness programs is very different. Today, we are delving into one such dimensions, which is age, right? To identify how do you draft the wellness programs that actually work, that actually caters to what people need, right? Today, we are going to be discussing how age plays an important role as priorities differ for different individuals despite being in the same organization, which in turns also affect participation in the wellness program. And just for the benefit of audience, because I know I get a lot of confused, certain terminologies that we're going to use, boomers or traditionals are people in the age group of 66 years and above, 1946 to 1960 born. Gen X are the ones born between 61 to 1980, that is 44 years to almost 66 years. Millennials are 1981 to 1996, which is 28 to 44 years of age. And lastly, Gen Zs, they are the ones born between 97 to 2012. Generally, the young force in the organization, 22 to 27 years old. And to ensure the success of these initiatives, companies need to create an inclusive program as well as very personalized programs that cater to the diverse needs and preferences of employees across generation, right? So without further ado, we thought we'll pick brains of the best minds in the industry and bring them on the panel for all of us to learn from them. I have a series of questions designed. Some of these questions came from you all. For the HR professionals in the audience, towards the end, we'll also be launching a handbook that you could refer to drive key initiatives in your company. We'll sending it out to the attendees of the event soon as well. Before we begin the question, I also wanted to introduce you to the panelists. Uh, so here I have Pradeep. He's currently serving as the Vice President HR at eClerks, where he leads the technology and analytics vertical, comes with 18 plus years of experience spanning over all facets of HR. His journey is literally shaped by the belief that what's get you here won't get you there, driving his passion for continuous growth and innovation in the field. Outside work, he also enjoys traveling to remote places, unexplored location, and has recently taken up camping as a new passion. Also adopted a cat just 4 days back and calls him Rambo. I have Chaitali here with me, my second panelist. Chaitali comes with 14 years of experience. She's currently serving as associate director at Turtle Mint. In her journey spanning over 8 years here, she has played an instrumental role in seeing the company grow from literally the one office to 86 offices across India and even one abroad. Driven by process and structure, she loves to bring harmony in chaos. We have literally seen her in action. Super, super excited to have you, Chaitari. Super excited to have you, Pradeep, as well. I have Daksh here with me. Daksh was facing some difficulty, but now we could see him well. Daksh is the Senior Vice President as People Strong, a renowned HR expert with extensive years of experience across diverse industry. He leads digital HR transformations, crafting innovative solutions for over 100 customers in India and even in Southeast Asia. A multiple award winner, including HR Top Voice, TAPI Young HR Leader 2022, Daksh excels in aligning technological advancements with business objectives and customer needs. So, welcome, Daksh. Welcome,
Thank
Chaitanya,
you.
Pradeep. So, looking
Thank you,
forward to
Richa.
Thanks,
conversation with
Richa.
you. Yes. So we are all super excited, guys. My first question, maybe Pradeep, I would want to start with you. Uh, what does wellness mean for each generation, Pradeep? Just wanted you to throw some light on that.
Certainly, yeah. Thanks a lot, Richa, for first of all, for that wonderful introduction, and thanks for inviting me for the discussion. So, in terms of wellness for each generation or for different, and you very well defined the generations that we are, working with in today's world. So, in my view, wellness at its core, at a very fundamental level, is no different for any generation. It is same for all generation, which predominantly talks about creating and it is more to do in parlance of the work environment or the workplace that we talk about. So it is more to do with creating an environment where people thrive and then they perform to their best of the capacities. That's the core of the wellness. But the way it manifests, it becomes highly personal, uh, and it has a very different significance for each generation. For every generation you will find it very very differently manifesting. So and that is predominantly not because they follow or they fall into a different age bucket. It is based on their unique uh, values and experiences that they had in their life and their needs in the stage at which they are currently in their careers or in life. And the needs are different, and hence the way they look at wellness and the prioritize wellness is very different. So for example, and if you look at the workplace today, that the workplace that we are all going to and the workforce that we work with, I don't think we have ever had such a diverse workforce in the past. I think we are working with all the five generations together, and more so in the Indian context, given to the demographic dividend that we are enjoying with the young workforce. I was reading some time back, almost 75-80% of the workforce in India, largely referring to the organized sector, is made up of Gen Zs and millennials. So obviously, if you look at the mix that we have at workplace, generational diversities will mean different needs for different generations. And to understand that, maybe I'll give you an example. Let's say for baby boomers, people who are in their late 50s, early 60s, for them the priorities from a wellness perspective will be more about preventive health measures, or health insurances, or it is, or about the retirement planning. So it's very different than the Gen Xers, people into their early 40s or mid 40s. For them, the priorities in terms of the wellness could be more to do with work life balance and mindfulness. And I think most of us fall into that category. And it is because in this stage we are all struggling between family responsibilities, work priorities, and that is where the work life balance becomes extremely critical. And for, let's say, if you look at millennials, for them, the priorities in terms of the wellness will be flexible working hours or career development, or maybe personal growth. That is their priority. And Gen Zs, people who are entering into the workforce now, for them, I would say the priorities in terms of their wellness would be more to do with physical and mental well-being. And Gen Zs are more purpose driven. For them, they would definitely look for more purpose. They would look for building communities at workplace. And I'm nowadays even hearing something called digital well-being. So that's something which is more relevant, and Gen Zs will more resonate with. So of course, wellness for each generation is definitely different based on the needs that they currently have, and that is based on the stage they are at in their career and their life in general.
Yeah. I like the way you defined it, Pradeep, right? How people at different points in life, where they are in their life, I think there are various different things that they prioritize, right? Be it retirement planning, be it their mindfulness, mental health, be it their health in general, health screening, and so on, right? Very, very nicely said. I also like the way you define Gen Z being a lot more purpose driven, right? A lot of digital wellness. I think
Yeah, they are. I mean,
beautiful.
I know people when we hire young people today and the kind of questions they ask before joining organizations, I would have never imagined asking those questions when I was entering the workforce. For us, even understanding a salary breakup was a big deal. So of course they are very smart. They are definitely purpose driven. They participate in all the CSR activities. They want to know how are they making the impact, and of course, work for them is a part of the life. And the way we have grown up, I think work was life at one point in time, for all of us, when we were entering the workforce into early
Yeah.
2000s. So there is a lot of difference, yes, of course.
Yes, I think we're moving from survival to moving towards finding meaning and purpose. We are definitely
Yes,
seeing
yes,
that happen.
for sure, 100%, yes.
Yes. What do you think, Daksh? What do you think, Chaitali? Do you agree to what Pradeep has been saying? What are your thoughts around wellness for each generation?
Oh, he's very well put it across. In fact, I completely agree with what he's saying. Some of the example he's stating of meeting Gen Zs in workforce, and he's right. There are certain questions which the current generation candidate would ask, which I would have not imagined. If I in that generation anybody would have come across. But it is so important for Gen Zs also to have work-life balance, be in an environment where the organization is offering that, and all of those aspects which we see in Gen Zs would have not been in the earlier generation.
Yeah. Let me ask this to Daksh, right? And I've interacted Daksh with you quite a bit earlier as well. So I want to understand from you: are the expectations different for different generations from their workplace? Are they also looking for different things from their workplace? Does Gen Z expect a lot more out of workplace? I think something that we keep hearing that Gen Z's demand are more compared to others. And somebody who keeps talking a lot about it, I want to understand from you. What are your thoughts?
Sure. I think, firstly, apologies. My network has been going in and out over the last 10, 15 minutes, actually. But I think, yeah, focusing, coming back to the question, I think Gen Z is a very, I mean, as compared to the other aspects of the generations that work today in the organization, their expectation is very different. They actually look out for a lot of social involvement in the overall structure. They expect a lot more from their workplace. It could be, say, a strong mental health support system or opportunities which help them engage socially more. And perhaps certain things could be on revolving around the educational resources on how they can gain more and more information ideally. But the social element is something that's very particular in this generation. On the other side, if you will talk about, and uh, as Pradeep was also discussing in the earlier one, if we talk about more from a Gen X perspective, these people would be ones who will focus more on work-life balance, career development opportunities, would be on family-related health issues. Millennials is one typical category. They typically reside within these ranges, right? And you will find a mix of them. They would look out for somebody who's looking out to prioritize work-life balance, looking out certain things into mental well-being, focusing on things like holistic wellness. Could be things like, I mean, you have this generation speaking a lot about stress management and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So I think these are some of the elements particular to each generation, and I think if an organization keep a track or keep a tab on these expectations, I think the overall expectations would be well met. I mean, a quick example could be while a Gen X employee may be interested in programs that address chronic condition management or elderly care support, a Gen Z may say, I may need some mental health applications or opportunities or say opportunities to connect socially between different channels via either wellness initiatives or could be related to health initiatives. Yeah.
Right. So they're looking for more community. They're looking for more social connection, is what I understand from you about Gen Zs.
Yeah.
right? And something is it also, Daksh, I was reading somewhere, right? They said, I think, given that we are more moving towards nuclear family, I think the expectations that we also have from our workplace has sort of gone up now. Would you have some thoughts on that as well? Right, the
Um,
expectation
I
also
think
from a spouse has gone up, and so from our workplaces.
um, I think I mean it's about the change in the society the way it has happened. A lot of times, people have been trying to say how well we can manage our ecosystem together. While obviously, I think it's not more about having different generations, but people try and juggle around for multiple aspects now. First, while I mean, if you look at our own parents, right, the expectation was very different, wherein you would find a very handful amount of females who would be engrossed in things like jobs and work. Culture, the focus was primarily on managing the household, having work around with the kids, ensure that though that development happens across. I think nowadays, I think looking at the way the world is moving, the way the generations have been coming up, I think it takes in a lot more different toll on those people, one, to manage the entire thing. Secondly, their kids also have started demanding these things, right? So, uh, I mean, if all of us have, I mean, some of us would have kids, you would see that those people actually look out for more and more engagement. They would ideally want the parents to help them go out, explore different things. I think, and that's the way it's I think leading to a more aspect on in terms of focusing on to how do you manage a Gen Z kind of a scenario.
Right. I know, Chetali, or even for Pradeep, right? I know a lot of your workforce is into rotational works at rotational shifts, a lot of Gen Zs in the workforce. What do you guys think? Do Gen Zs expect a lot more from a workplace?
I completely agree. I mean, I don't know whether we call it more expectations, but of course, see the and you rightly said, the way support system nowadays at home people have, most of us are either in nuclear families, or these young kids, they are on their own and their families are in different cities. So the the default support system that they rely upon is largely is the organizations that they start working with as their first employer, and they look up to their managers or supervisors, not just as their bosses, who would only help them do their job well, but in many cases they expect to learn from them in terms of how have they reached there. So what is it that I can do, to reach there where you are today. So yes, of course, their expectations from organizations is not just that give me work, I'll deliver it and you pay me. It is definitely much beyond it. They expect organization to give them a place which is safe for them physically, mentally, socially. They do expect their organizations to take care of their financial well-being, their physical well-being. They do expect organizations to help them chart a long-term career path for them. So of course they do it, and I truly believe it is great because organizations do have these kind of responsibilities for their employees. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, yes, expectations are rising, and as the topic says, and it is always different for different generation. But the young generation that is coming nowadays to workforce, they do come up with these expectations for sure.
Got it. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me ask you this, Chetari, right? How do you go about designing a good wellness strategy, a good wellness program for the organization with so much complexity, right? Where you have
Yeah.
so many different kinds of different age group of people, different shifts that are there. Maybe if you could share what has worked well in the past, which audience could learn from, Chetari.
Yeah, actually, I like to share that there are few things which we do here at Turtle Mint, around five, six of things which works really well for us. To begin with, we have made wellness beyond HR team or an admin team kind of in setup. We have formed a group whom we call all Social Turtle, which is a group of 25 folks across 86 offices who carry out all our events for us, various programs for us. So that's something which really worked for us. We have a top down approach where our leaders are focusing on wellness to be the priority, and we have seen that that's kind of gets us, and on an average around 50 to 60% of participation for any of the wellness which we run. 50% of, in fact, our wellness programs are also gamified, so a lot of quiz, a lot of rewards towards the programs which we create. For example, for International Yoga Day, we had a yoga mudra challenge, right? So somebody who would be doing a certain poses would be rewarded. So there's something exciting also to look forward to at the end of the challenge, kind of a thing. We've also onboarded expert who helps us design tailor-made programs. So via our expert, we've actually carried out 24 events in 12 months. Our experts helped us deep dive into topics like self-care, mindfulness, wheel of happiness, parenting tool for the new parents, a lot of how to manage stress, how to manage anxieties. In fact, also to bring awareness. So our expert helped us do that as well. Again, we wanted to focus on awareness. It was more from a thought of that we want to celebrate the differences. So we focus on awareness. Even if there is one success story, we like to celebrate in particularly. The last thing we use is we focus on our communication strategy. We kind of go all out. So let that be emailer, Slack, WhatsApp, through your Gmail, Hangouts, color posters in the organization. As much as we can speak about it, we do. In fact, in an HR team, it's part of our communication KRA. So when the HR team have connects with their employee, let that be 30, 60, 90 days or a regular connect, wellness is something which is spoken about a lot. Upcoming events are spoken about it a lot. So there is a lot of communication which is flowing across the organization. We've identified event captains in different offices because we've got 86 offices pan India. We train our event captains also on how to execute some of these sensitive topics. Yeah, that's what we do, Richa. So.
Yeah, no, Chaitali, I think we've been very proud partners with Turtle Mint, and I've literally seen you guys leading from the front. So I've literally seen that happening, right? For how it's not an HR activity, right? It's literally an agenda of the organizations, and how there are companies which say our initiatives, there is 5% engagement. I think your events, there is sometimes even 40, 50, 60% of the organizations participating, right? And right, and always very gamified rewards. Always it's like wellness is fun, it's an engaging, and it's an everyday thing, right? I know the number of events that you guys do, just to say that it is, it's just part of the way we are, so that we could all be a better version of ourselves. So no, thank you. I think a lot of pointers, from gamified version to experts to a lot of work around awareness. And I really love that social turtle, right? A lot of peer support programs, so that teams could champion it, right? Not just only experts driven, but how could us internally we could be empowered, be self-sufficient to drive that. That's amazing. Thank you for that, Chaitali. What to add, Pradeep, Daksh, are there certain things that you think you would love to add to it? Right, the way you would have done at eClerks or People Strong, or even at other places, you would have seen some best practices.
I think we, at least at our end, we just ensure, and Chaitali has already covered it, but I think a key aspect that we ensure, it's the communication. We ensure we are able to communicate it well. We ensure that there is it's like a menu that is given to different generations across, so that people can actually choose from those basis their preferences. It's about hearing the employees and trying to ideally create programs which are focusing on specific needs or specific to generations. I think these are few things that we, at least at People Strong, take into consideration to ensure that the trainings or the programs which are instituted, they are actually tailored specific to the need.
No, wonderful. Very personalized, right? Listening to your own people saying, what do you need? And sort of making it
Yeah.
accordingly and taking feedback accordingly. Thank you so much. That's so much to learn, right? So literally got top-down approach. I've got peer support program, gamification, bringing experts to the specific areas. I've got celebrating success stories that goes a long way. I've got a lot of focus, like Daksh also said, Chaitali also said, focus on communication, right? All channels where your people are, rather than saying we only. I know there are organizations which would say we only would send one email 15 days earlier, and then, but I think how do you communicate, right, from your email signatures to your mailers to Slack to whatever channels that are there, right? The In your discussions with the team members also, that is being followed through. That's amazing. So much stuff to learn. Like, let me ask you this, Pradeep, right? I want to really ask you this question because you're also a large organization. While the organization culture plays a role in wellness, managers play a huge role in individual and team culture. Right? Invariably, a lot of teams in Gen Zs might be getting managed by millennials and Gen X. Do you see a conflict in the importance given to things or the approach, right? And how do you handle that?
For some weird reason, it's whenever it's my turn to speak, the sensor just stops sensing and it
That's
turns
the
off the
space.
light. I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
sorry for that. And the weird problem is that I'm in a big room and the sensor is on the other side. So my apologies for this. Okay, but coming to the question, right? Yes, of course. Irrespective of an organization being large or small, if you work with a diverse set of generations, uh, conflicts do arise. And of course, organization culture. The way you started your question, I would say it's extremely important. I mean, it, from a very broader, if you zoom out a little bit, wellness is everything that happens in the organization, and
Yeah.
whatever happens in the organization is a part of the culture. It's not just those wellness initiatives, right? While we do a lot of those, but whatever an employee experiences as part of their work is wellness,
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
workplace ergonomics to the kind of chairs and furnitures you provide them to sit, the kind of lightings that you have for them, everything at the end of the day constitutes the wellness. When an employee turns off for the day or they go home at the end of the day, do they really feel exhausted or do they feel happy after the work day? And that is what everything constitutes the wellness. But yeah, so even in our organization, most of our frontline managers are, I would say, are millennials, right? And they are managing the young workforce, which is all Gen Zs. And there are conflicts which are bound to happen, which is natural. And the conflicts largely happens based on, again, the value system that they carry. And the value system comes from the kind of experiences they had in the past, and those experiences, especially during their formative years, forms a more stronger impression. Just to give you an example, when us, the Gen X, were entering the workforce early 2000 or so, concepts such as work life balance or personal care were largely non-existent. What we cared for is going to office. We have to work consistently for 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever time is required to work, and come home. And even if it is Friday, Saturday, we were supposed to work. As long as we are getting paid on time, we were happy. Looking at the generation that comes to the workforce today, the Gen Z, they are growing up with the concept of work-life balance or hypercare at work, and the expectations are very different. So conflicts are bound to happen. The way we at our organizations have handled it, or that has worked well for us, in spite of such a large and very diverse workforce. And our workforce, to also let you know, works in a 24/7 kind of environment. We have
Rotational
businesses running
shifts.
across. Yeah. So I think two things. There are many things, but I would say two things that has worked well for us, which probably will work for everyone else. One is, from a cultural perspective, is to bring in an environment of open communication, and that is more to do at a leadership level. And what does it really mean is providing a platform or providing an environment to employees where they feel safe in speaking about their feelings. As long as they feel safe to express themselves, I think that is largely a job well done. There are many aspects around it, but the one is that you give them this open, transparent work culture. You give them open environment for them to be able to speak up. And second is, is investing in the upskilling of your managers. uh, you know so at eClerks, so for example, we have a program that is mandatory for all people managers, first time people managers, and that is applicable for all, whether you are internally promoted a manager, or we hire people from the external market, so the lateral hires. But everyone has to undergo a program that is a combination of self learning, instructor led modules, and that covers all their technical work delivery competency aspects, but a large part of it focuses on the people skill, conflict management. How do you have those difficult conversations with your team members? How do you do performance management? How do you do effective feedback conversation? A lot of it which people will not know unless somebody coach them on, and that is very, very important. And just to add one more point, and upskilling and handholding is equally important for the young workforce entering the work, the work, because these kids who are coming right after their college, starting their first job, even they needs to be trained on so many things. They needs to
Yeah.
be they needs to be given coaching around how to build resilience, how to be ready for the difficult times, and no matter which company you join at what time, and you can be the best campus recruit, but no matter what, tough time will come, difficult times will come, and you need to
Yeah.
be ready to be able to handle it, or to be able to cope up to it. And once again, and Chetali was talking about 30, 60, 90. Yes, of course, all of us have those 30, 60, 90 interventions. And one thing that we keep repeating in those interventions to our employee is we keep reminding them of the support system available for them, the avenues that they can look up to in case if they need any help, the HRs, the counselors, the whole, support system, including their managers, their trainers. So I think that is important. It's a holistic approach. So you bring some top-down cultural changes, you invest in the upskilling and handholding of your managers, and at the same point of time, you do right expectation setting for the workforce that is entering into the workforce now. And that has really, really worked well, at least for eClerks, in terms of settling or handling those conflicts, and it works really well across generations.
Yeah. Very well said, Pradeep. And it is coming, and I think that's true for all of you, coming with so much of years of experience of building the organization, right? I think the average age of this panel here in their own organization, at least a 6+ years experience, right? In the same organization. So you've literally built it, right? And I love the way, Pradeep, you said everything that is happening in the organization is part of the wellness, right? That open communication, transparency. Does your people feel belong to the organization? Do they feel safe in expressing themselves, right? It's not just about the activities that are happening, right? Because activities is one part of, again, overall culture, but are my people, right from the top to the manager to everybody that people are talking to, right? Are they sensitized enough to support someone, to pick up signs, to be able to say this, not say this, listen to them? I love the way something that stood out for me, Pradeep, is saying that, this is mandatory, right? Manager training, it's not like optional. Skill to theek hai, but even things like how do you give feedback, how do you support someone, those are mandatory, right? How do you do those conversations around career growth, etc. I think I love the way that you focused on some of these things, and the consistently, and it should needs to keep happening continuously and consistently for it to give results. Thank you so much for that, Pradeep.
And just to sort
Um,
of tell you this, the program that we run has been evolved over a period of years, right? So every year we are
yeah,
taking feedbacks and inputs from employees and evolving on it. So it is not just that we created once and it's been delivered year after year.
right.
It is always on the go. It is always improving, and we are catering to the needs of an hour. So yes, it has worked very well for
Yes,
us, for sure.
yes, and that's why I think for the audience I mentioned, Pradeep, for you, Chaitali, Dakshdeep, you guys have experimented and then formed things, right? Doing it over and over years in the same organization, because the same kind of people, same culture, and how do you make it better? So I think a lot of us can learn from that and apply, right? So our years of experimentations. We have to spend less years into experimentation and get to good results learning from your experiences. Thank you so much for that. Um, Yes, let me also ask you something. Maybe Daksh, I would ask you this, right? How do you ensure you spoke about a lot of programs that are there in the organization, and one of the things that I keep hearing because we also work in the area of wellness for various organizations, and something that keep coming across again and again in our discussions is how do you ensure adoption of these programs, right? Does that become a demotivator at times, especially for an HR function to not just organize, but I know a lot of companies would say we have to pull people to attend them. Any strategies that have worked for you in the past, right? That
Sure.
people can
So
adopt.
I think we have covered it in bits and pieces as well, while Chaitali and Pradeep, all of them
Yeah.
touched some of the elements. I think one thing that we ensure is tailoring the program needs. I mean, if we have diverse workforce, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Zs, millennials across the organization, you need to have programs that may attract these specific generations, right? For example, in People Strong, we have a naturopathy-led wellness program, which is generally seen that Gen X, Gen Zs typically adopt in. We have programs related to mindfulness, wherein you have a silent retreat for 3, 4 days. People can opt in for those. That's typically what we have seen as typically the Gen X's opt in for those things, right? So I think it's the first and foremost is tailoring the needs from a generation perspective. Another is I think if you can have a gamified solution, Yatali spoke in one of her earlier responses as well. We try and gamify things. More people attend, more people do uh, activities related to their personal care or related to any wellness programs that we do. And we actually give them certain points. People can actually redeem those points on certain People Strong brand BDs ideally. I think in the last aspect, Pradeep also touched upon, which is integrating wellness into your daily work routines, right? It's just not about those 3 or 4 initiatives, it's about every action. How do you
Yeah.
inculcate and link every action to your wellness aspect? That's the third part of it. Another is I think you can have some peer influencers or success stories by telling how. So I think one quick example, we had this for the first time when we introduced this naturopathy program. We had one of our employees who actually lost good 40 odd kgs. I mean, he was the first one to enroll there. That came out as an inspiration to a lot of them that that's the impact that it brings, right? So people actually see those people making the change in their own lives and hence actually are then attracted towards doing it. So I think it's good to have those influencers and success stories coming and and telling people that how it can impact them. Right. The next one is, I think I also touched base, but I think just consolidating it here is communication, right? So it's not about communicating it once, it's about communicating clearly and consistently, right? So it should not be that once in 15 days you just send an email. There would be certain people who may would have seen it or due to their schedules they would have even missed it out. So I think it's about different communication channels. If you can do town halls, if you can do in-person communications, every organization today has an organization WhatsApp or a kind of a communication method. Ideally, you should use those. Do do ideally emails across. So there are multiple channels that come across, and people are reminded of almost on an equal frequency. Uh, then I think it is I think one of the most important things is which Pradeep also suggested. Perhaps the last point is gather regular gather regular feedback, and the linked part to it is act on it. I mean, gathering feedback may just be a tick box in the book, but I think, as Pradeep was stating, that the program that they did has evolved over multiple years, right? So you don't have success stories coming in on the year one. I mean, you could be really lucky enough if you do it. But I think if you hear your employees, if you act on the feedback, you improve year on year or time to time. I think that's the key to ensure that the adoption goes up.
Now, Very, very rightly said. I think that I really like the fact where you said, right, act also on the feedback that is coming. It will evolve over a period of time. Your in-house or uh, in peer influencers play a very important role. I know we have at Yodos we call something like YD warriors. These are people who have sought support but are also willing to talk about their stories, right? And when you have that in a company, I think the others also get motivated to sort of use those facilities because we have seen the results. So true to that. I really, I think the program that attracts the right audience, I think that really hits a nerve. We also keep seeing, so there are a lot of fun things. You will see a lot of Gen Zs participating. We do something like letters to family where people could write letters to their family, and you would see more millennials participating to it, right? It goes back to their memory lane when you used to. So I think tailoring, knowing your audience and designing the programs according to that really, really makes a lot of change. I really like the fact where you stressed upon being the rewards that are given, the personalization. So no, I think he picked up a lot of points from what Pradeep said, what Chaitali said, and I think that's probably the true things to make it a success, right? That you're listening to your people, you're designing things which are there for them, you're updating things based on that. Um, yeah, and also rewarding good behavior, right? And having internal influences. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for that. Let me ask you maybe, Chaitali, one more thing, right? Or feel free, anybody who wants to add to that. How do you measure the success of these programs, right? um, like I keep hearing a lot of companies saying, no, we did this, nobody participated, or so many parts. What are some of the metrics that you measure, Chetal?
So some of the things can be as typical as what's your participation ratio, right? Like how many people came to some of the events or the programs which are made. But something else which we also do, like how Pradeep and Daksh was also sharing that on gathering feedback. But what we also do is gather feedback from folks who are not participating to some of the wellness program as well, that okay, what would they like to have, or was it as simple as is the time clashing or something like that. So we try to gather feedback for the folks who are not able to participate as well. I have noticed over here that there is a stickiness in employee where they're feeling they are part of something more than just their KRA and a desk job, which eventually becomes part of your culture. When it becomes part of your culture, you have your employees coming up to you and asking for some of the things which turn out to be actually a wellness program from them. I have noticed that I've got a lot of folks who rejoined Turtle Mint saying that the culture here was something amazing and they didn't experience that outside of Turtle Mint and they like to come back. And I truly believe that it is because the wellness is one of the big part of our culture over here. So these are some of the measures I feel Richard goes a long way. I know there are a lot of things. Daksh and Pradeep also spoke about implementing a lot of programs and all that. Sometimes we don't realize that one success of one of the program goes long way. So if you implement so many things and if it is successful, you know you have one of the healthy organization, a healthy employee life cycle which is there. So yeah, that's one of the way to measure.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with one of the CHROs recently, and she also mentioned the same thing, right? Over time, I've started measuring, saying if my health and wellness index are going up, or more people are participating into something, my retention levels are also going up. So there is some correlation. I think there has to be a lot more studies to substantiate some of those, right? We're feeling that, but how do I also start substantiating that in numbers? Fair enough. Before I open the questions to the audience, I also maybe in the next 30 seconds for each one of you, one last question. What will be your one piece of advice that you would like to give to the HR professionals prioritizing wellness in their organization? Maybe just like one or two lines. Maybe we go, what I see on the screen, Pradeep, Daksh, Chaitali, if we go this way.
Sure. So I think last 45 minutes, whatever we have spoken, there are a lot of advices for people to pick up from. But if I had to kind of give one piece of advice, uh, I would say don't copy others. Each organization is different. In your organization, as I said, people are different. So try and pick program that your people need. So don't just simply look at other organizations or try to pick. I mean, there are programs that works very well, which are off the shelf solutions, but then not everything works that way. So one is to identify your needs and to know what is the outcome that you want to drive before you launch a program and have a very clear thought process around it. And maybe the second, as Daksh was also talking, and I completely agree that personalization is very important. Take inputs from employees, either through surveys or HR one-to-one, but listen to your employees and accordingly offer solutions which caters to the needs of everyone.
Correct. No, thank you so much for that. Daksh, what is that, your piece of advice to the HR professionals?
I think Pradeep covered it tightly, whatever I was thinking about. But I think for sure one should listen to the employees' diverse needs across the generations, and perhaps we create flexible, inclusive wellness programs that evolve with your workforce with time. And I think the most important thing is to ensure that people are able to access those through multiple channels and support systems. I think this would be my go-to thing for the HR organization across.
Thank you so much for that, Daksh. Chaitali, what would be your
Yeah,
piece
I
of advice?
feel I feel that wellness has to be beyond some of the typical thoughts that it has to be an HR. Wellness should be part of all departments, like a community inside who can drive it. And I truly believe that getting an expert on board helps a lot. There are a lot of subject you can touch upon if you have experts on board. So yeah, if you get a chance, you should get right experts on board to help create a lot of wellness programs for your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Chaitali. Um, let me open the floor to the audience. I know I'm getting a lot of questions. Um, yes. So the first question I've got, it is for Pradeep to say. um, do you see technology play a huge role in wellness initiatives, especially in hybrid workforce?
Sorry, this question is for me, right?
Yes, yes, Pradeep.
Yes, of course. 100%. I totally, technology is the biggest enabler, I would say, for not just wellness initiative, for a lot of other things. And more to do with hybrid because your the kind of communication that you could have otherwise had when people were working in office, you could have had everyone come into a meeting room. You can have more frequent in-person conversation. That is certainly is difficult now. So technology definitely plays and a lot of wellness initiatives nowadays are designed where the technology is at the core of it. You would have seen a lot of organizations running initiatives around stepathon, or there are competitions where you have to there are teams who are running against each other. So they are at the end of it, they are all inculcating good habits. It's about telling
Yes,
people or motivating people to adopt good habits in a more gamified way, and technology becomes that platform where you get motivated to see your progress on a more real time basis. So technology is very good, but I would also say it, if your workforce is very dynamic and if the mix is more towards the Gen X and the baby boomers, then you need to choose technology wisely, because for some generation technology can also be a turn off. Too much of technology infusion can be a bit of turn off. So you
yeah,
need to be very wise. Again, adopt technology for sure, but since we are talking generational differentiation, for some generation, as long as you keep it simple, it will be easy for them to adopt to
yes,
it. If it
yeah.
becomes complicated, then they may not be very comfortable with it. So keep that thing in mind. But technology is absolutely a great enabler.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes.
In fact, Richa, we do a lot of things on WhatsApp, like that being one of our the most commonly used
Yeah.
technology. Lot of messages, lot of uh, uh, from benefits to events and all that across all is communicated on WhatsApp. So yeah, of course, it plays a very big role in today's world.
We have the next question from Priya. With evolving workplace dynamics, how do you ensure that wellness programs remain relevant to both needs of emerging and established generations? Who would like to take it?
So I think we maybe all of you can also contribute. See, so the wellness programs, as I said, so there will be some baselining programs. If you talk about having the basics of health insurances or medical coverages, etc., that would always remain relevant to all generations. Of course, the needs might differ in terms of the coverage that they need, and for Gen Zs it would be only the employee, and maybe for Gen X it will be the extended family members also get covered. So so if, as long as you are able to meet the baseline expectations, as for the physical safety of the employee and the family well-being, over and above that, I would say it is about you designing a program keeping in mind the needs of your consumer or the generation or the people who are going to actually use it. So that's a key initiative that you have to keep in
Yeah.
mind if you want to keep it
Yeah.
relevant. And yeah, and of course listen to them. If so, I think you were telling that a lot of companies HRs give feedback that we need to push a lot of initiatives through the people, because you know uh, it has to be the other way around. If you listen to your employees, and if you launch something which they want, there will be less pull, and it will be more employees coming on their own. So as long as you keep relevant, your programs relevant to them and cater to their needs, I'm sure it will go a long way.
No, very nicely said. I think listen to them is a big takeaway that we take. And like you said, right, there are also nuances of do you have more young workforce? Do you have more people who are into rotational shifts, right? Do you have more ICs? Do you have more first time managers? So it's important that you know what your audience to be able to tailor make
Exactly.
things to them.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, nice. Next question is: the company should have their internal team who needs to plan wellness program, or is it better to hire a third party?
I
Chaitali
think,
is the best.
yeah, I think go ahead, Chatali. Note it down. I mean, I would have given my perspective
No, go
only,
ahead.
but
I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt you, but
Please go ahead, Daksh.
yeah, please go
I
ahead, Daksh.
think, I feel that for sure there should be an internal team doing it, because nobody apart from the organization knows its employees the best. You may want to have third parties getting involved in driving initiatives within the organizations to assist them and to actually enable them achieve those things. For example, for mental well-being, we partner with one of the agencies wherein people do the silent retreat. For naturopathy, again, there's a vendor whom we tie up with who help us with that program. For fitness, we tie up with perhaps a gym trainer or things like Twitter and Cult, who helps us do it ideally. But yes, the intent is the brain behind performing the entire strategy around wellness is to have somebody who can link to the organization culture, can actually know what the employees want, while there are being different surveys being done. But I think people who can relate the best to the employees is somebody from within the organization rather than somebody else coming as an outsider.
Yeah, so what I hear is it has to be a collective responsibility. Internally, it has to be planned and worked with the experts outside to execute and deliver the best experience to your people.
Yes, I think from a RASP perspective, it's about the accountability versus responsibility. I think
Yes,
accountability should lie internally, while there
yes,
can be multiple third parties who can work and be
yeah,
responsible for the same action.
yeah. Yeah. Yes. I know Chaitali spoke a lot about it, and she seems like she's going to answer more.
Yeah, I
Please
feel
go ahead.
like I might have a cheesy answer for this, but that, when you're trying to lose weight, you do a lot on your own, you go on a diet or something like that. But when you have a personal trainer, you have a focus, you have a better strategy or a better plan to lose weight in a certain way, right? It's very similar. You can do a lot inside, you can do a lot on your own, but when you have expert on board, they help you focus, they help you plan certain strategy. And wellness can be a very sensitive subject, so bringing on counselors, bringing on experts helps a lot.
Nice. No, thank you so much for that, Chaitali. I know you've always sort of vouched for that. I think I know from a personal experience of also your those working with you guys is how you've
Yeah,
said, see, हमें ऐसे करना है, or this is the kind of audience we have. Help us design what could be the best for us, right?
yeah,
So, uh,
yeah, we've seen a
so
great impact because we have certain experts on board. So yeah, uh, I think having expert on board is one of the best thing to have.
got it. No, thank you so much for that. Thank you everybody for that. I know we are sort of running out of time. Maybe I'll just thank you so much. Thank you, Chaitali. Thank you, Dakshdeep. Thank you, Pradeep, for sharing your views with us. Thank you to the lovely audience for all your questions. I think I have some big takeaways that wellness really have to be an agenda of the organization. One size doesn't fit all. Listen to your people. Wellness is not just about activities you're doing, it's about creating that safe space where people feel heard, where people feel belonged, and it really impacts your various important parameters, from your retention to your absenteeism to your growth of the organization. Thank you so much for that. Thank you everybody for your taking your time and listening to such. I had a lot of fun listening to a great panelists. Thank you so much. Together, I hope we create more thriving organizations. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Richa.
Richa.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Pradeep. Thanks,
everyone.
Ash. Thanks, Richa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.